They say you shouldn't chase what you don't understand. But what if it's already chasing you? I've been a demon hunter for 3 years now. Not for glory, not for God, for debt. Something took my father the night I was born. At least that's what my mother screams about in her padded room at Beacon Point. Everyone else says she killed him. They called it psychosis. I called it a lead. You'd think demon hunter means silver bullets, salt lines, and Latin prayers. That's not me. I don't kill demons. I track them. Because one of them has something that belongs to me. My dad's soul. The first time I saw the white crow, I thought it was an omen. The second time, I knew it was him. Watching. Waiting. Reminding me of the promise I didn't make. But still have to keep. My name's Alex Hammond. And I'm about to tell you how my family made a deal with something old. And how I've been paying for it ever since. Everyone says my mom killed my dad. That she lost her mind 36 years ago and stabbed him to death in our living room. That's why she's locked away in Beacon Point Sanatorium, up on the hill where the forest meets the fog. But she tells a different story. She says a demon took his soul, and the worst part? I believe her. For most of my life I tried not to. You grow up in foster homes hearing the same story again and again. Your mother's a murderer, your family's cursed. Eventually, you stop asking questions. But lies have a way of rotting, and the truth, it doesn't stay buried forever. When I moved back to Corvus Vale to work as a tree surgeon near Hollowthorn Forest, everyone already knew who I was. They whispered my name like it was bad luck to say it too loud. And then one afternoon, my supervisor, Gary, pointed toward the trees with his half-eaten sandwich and said, "You ever visit her?" I asked who he meant. He pointed again, toward the distant silhouette of an old manor house hidden between the pines. "Your mom," he said. "She's in there." That was Beacon Point. And that was the day I decided to stop pretending I didn't care. The sanatorium sits behind a wall of gray stone, its chimneys stabbing at the clouds like broken fingers. Inside, everything smells like bleach and stale coffee. I didn't tell anyone I was going. Who would I tell? The receptionist barely looked up when I gave my name. When I said I was Shannon Hammond's son, her eyes changed. Not surprise, not pity. Something closer to fear. She buzzed me through and said, "Follow the yellow line to the visiting room. And whatever you do, don't step on the black one." I didn't ask what she meant, but as I walked those echoing halls, I could swear that black line pulsed under the floor like a vein. My mother was waiting at a table by the window, her hands folded, her hair silver and thin. She looked small, fragile, but when she raised her eyes, something in them still burned. "You look like your father," she said softly. I sat down across from her. For a while we talked about nothing. The weather, my job, how she liked the view from her window. Then she asked me something that made my skin crawl. "Do you see him?" she whispered. I frowned. "Who?" "Your father," she said. "You've seen him, haven't you? He watches over you." I almost laughed. But then she said something else. "The bird, Alex, the white crow." I froze. "There is a bird. It's been sitting on my windowsill for months. Pale feathers, black eyes. I'd never told anyone about it." My throat went dry. "Sometimes," I admitted. She nodded slowly, like she'd been waiting my whole life to hear me say that. "That's your father," she said. "Not a spirit, not a dream. Literally." I wanted to walk out right then, but she caught my wrist. Her hand was cold as ice. "Please, just listen," she said. "Let me tell you what really happened." And that's when the story changed. She told me about a ritual, a summoning, my father had performed long before I was born. He wanted a child so badly that he made a deal with something ancient. He got his wish. My brother was born, but there was a price. Any child born after that would belong to her. Her voice broke as she said it. "She always finds a way," she whispered. "She never forgets a debt. I asked who she was. My mother looked past me out the window at something only she could see. "Morrigan," she breathed. "The Crow Queen." And that was the moment I realized two things. Either my mother really was insane, or the demon that took my father's soul has been watching me all along. Because that night when I got home, the white crow wasn't outside my window anymore. It was inside. That night I left Beacon Point with my mother's. Words stuck under my skin like splinters. Morrigan, the name tasted like rust when I whispered it on the drive home. The road through Hollowthorn Forest is narrow and bends like a serpent. My headlights caught the trees leaning in, their branches heavy with black crows that didn't scatter when I passed. They just stared. By the time I reached my house, the sky was bruised purple and the world felt too quiet, like the air was waiting for me to step inside. The crow wasn't on the sill. For months it had perched there, tapping at the glass. Now it was gone. I should have been relieved. But instead my stomach knotted. The rooms felt wrong, too dark, too cold, like someone had left a door open somewhere inside me. I went from room to room, flicking on lights, telling myself it was nothing. Just a bird. Just my imagination. Then from upstairs came the sound. Tap, tap, tap. Not on the window. On the inside of the wall, I froze at the foot of the stairs, every hair on my arms lifting. "Hello?" I called stupidly. My voice sounded small, like a child's. Tap, 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 slow, deliberate. Like claws dragging on plaster. I crept up the stairs, each step groaning under my weight. The hallway light flickered once and went out, plunging everything into gray. I could smell it now. Wet feathers. Old earth. Something coppery and sweet. My bedroom door was ajar. Just a sliver. I pushed it open. The white crow was sitting on my desk. But it was bigger now. Its wings hunched like a shadow. Its eyes black as wells. It didn't move. Then it spoke. Its beak didn't open, but the voice came anyway. A whisper inside my skull, deep and female. "Alex." I stumbled back, hitting the doorframe. "What debt?" the voice hissed. Blood. Broken promise. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't obey. The crow tilted its head. Its feathers rippled like smoke, and for a second I saw something else inside it. A shape, tall and thin, with wings made of knives and a crown of bone. "Find me," it said, "or I'll find him." And then, just as suddenly, it was only a bird again, small, silent. It hopped once, flapped its wings, and flew out the open window into the night. I collapsed against the wall, gasping, my heart trying to break its way out of my chest. My mother's voice came back to me, from the visiting room, soft but sharp as a blade. "Find Morrigan. She will give you what you're looking for." Now I understood. This wasn't a story. This was a warning. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the edge of my bed until dawn, staring at the window where the crow had vanished. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I wanted to tell myself I'd imagined it, that stress had cracked me open like a shell, but I could still smell the feathers on my clothes. By morning, I knew one thing. I couldn't ignore my mother anymore. If Morrigan was real, if the deal was real, then somewhere out there was a way to undo it. And if there wasn't, then at least I'd finally know the truth about what happened to my father. I started with the only lead I had, the book. My mother had said my father found it in a dusty shop in town. Most of the old shops were gone now, replaced by cafes and charity stores. But there was one place left, hidden down an alley behind Corvus Vale's Market Square. A cramped, windowless shop called the Fortune's End. The bell above the door didn't ring when I stepped inside. It smelled like old paper and rain. Every surface was covered with books stacked to the ceiling. None had titles on their spines, just strange symbols burned into the covers. At the back of the shop, behind a counter littered with melted candles, stood an old woman. Her eyes were clouded but sharp. She smiled like she'd been expecting me. "You have your father's face," she said. My mouth went dry. "Do you know me?" "I knew your father. And your mother." Her smile faded. "I warned them about the Crow Queen." My heart hammered. "Morrigan?" I said. She nodded. "She doesn't like being called by name, but yes, Morrigan." I stepped closer. "Where can I find her?" The woman's fingers trembled over the counter. "Find her?" she whispered. "Child, you don't find Morrigan. You survive her." I slammed my palms down. "She has my father. She's been haunting me for months, and last night she was in my room. Just tell me how to find her." The old woman's gaze slid past me to the windowless door at the back of the shop. Her lips moved like she was praying. "She keeps her promises," she said at last, "but she never lets go of a debt. If she's showing herself to you, it means she's already decided. She wants something." "What?" "You'll have to ask her." She reached under the counter and pulled out a book bound in black leather. The same strange symbols were burned into its cover, but this one had a single white feather tucked between its pages. "This belonged to your father," she said. "It's how he called her." I took it. It felt warm in my hands like skin. The old woman leaned close. "If you open it, you're already inside the circle. Do you understand?" I nodded. "Then go to the Hollowthorn," she said. "Midnight. Where the trees bend inward. That's where she walks." I left the shop clutching the book, my heart hammering. Outside, the sky was a dull iron gray. I glanced up at the rooftops. A white crow sat on the chimney opposite, watching me. The forest was waiting for me. It always had been. By midnight, the fog rolled down from the hills, thick and low, smothering every sound but my footsteps. I parked by the old iron gate that marked the edge of Hollowthorn, and walked the rest of the way with a flashlight and the book clutched tight against my chest. The air smelled of moss and iron. The deeper I went, the quieter the world became. Even the insects stopped singing. I found the place the old woman had described, a hollow where the trees bent inward, their trunks twisted as if they were bowing to something unseen. In the center lay a ring of black stones half buried in leaves. That was the circle. I opened the book. The pages were rough and yellow, the ink faded almost to nothing. Symbols crawled across the paper like ants. Between them, words in a language that felt familiar and wrong all at once. I didn't understand them, but when I whispered them, the forest did. The wind died. Then came the wings. Not the flapping of one bird, but thousands. The sound filled the trees, the ground, my chest. I looked up and the night sky was moving. A storm of crows black against the moon. I wanted to run, but something held me in place. A shape stepped out from the shadows. She was tall, too tall, and her hair shimmered like oil on water. Her eyes were the same black as the crows. Feathers wove through her skin as though she were stitched together from every bird in the forest. When she spoke, the sound wasn't a voice. It was the echo of wings against bone. "Alex Hammond," she said. "I wondered when you'd call. I couldn't breathe. You took my father." Her smile was small and cold. "He offered himself. The first price is always chosen freely. Then give him back. I can't return what isn't missing." She stepped closer. "He walks the skies. He sees you every day. He keeps you safe." I shook my head. "You turned him into a crow." "I gave him what he asked for," she whispered. "A child of his own. You." Her words hit like ice water. "Your mother broke the pact when she tried to hide you. So now another debt must be paid." Something shifted behind her, and from the fog stepped a man. My breath caught. He looked about 40, dark hair, gray eyes, a scar along his jaw. I'd never seen him before, but I knew who he was. My brother. He stared at me the way you'd look at a ghost. Morrigan spread her wings behind him like a storm. One must stay, she said. One must go. The circle demands balance. I turned to my brother. His lips trembled. Alex, he whispered, she's telling the truth. She's been keeping us both alive. I backed away. No, I'm not giving her anything. Morgan tilted her head, almost tender. You already have. And before I could move, the ground cracked open beneath my feet. The book in my hands burst into flame. The last thing I saw before the fire swallowed the circle was the white crow, watching from a branch above. It didn't move. It didn't need to, because its eyes were mine. I woke to the sound of rain. At least I thought it was rain. The ground beneath me was cold stone, slick with something thicker than water. The forest was gone. In its place stretched a sky the color of ash and a horizon filled with crows, thousands of them, perched shoulder to shoulder, silent. I tried to stand, but the air felt heavy as if the world was underwater. My hands were black with soot and the book, Morgan's book, was gone. A whisper threaded through the fog. Not a voice, not exactly, more like a thought that wasn't mine. Balance restored, I spun around. Morgan stood a few paces away, her wings folded like a cloak. She looked almost human now, eyes the color of winter storms. Where's my brother? I asked. She smiled faintly. He stayed. My stomach dropped. What do you mean he stayed? She reached out, touching the side of my face with a hand that felt like frost. The circle demanded one soul bound to me. He chose you to leave. You should be grateful, I stumbled back. No, bring him back. Her feathers rustled, a sound like knives scraping stone. There are no rescues here, only exchanges. Your father offered himself for your birth. Your brother offered himself for your life. What will you offer, Alex Hammond? I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. She leaned close, her breath cold against my ear. When you remember, come find me. The world shattered like glass. I gasped awake in my bed. Morning light poured through the window. The forest was quiet again, the air still. For a moment I thought it had all been a nightmare. Then I saw the feather, white as snow, lying on my pillow, and beneath it, carved into the wood of my nightstand, a single word burned black: debt. I turned on my phone. Midnight, gone. No calls, no messages, but in my gallery there was a new photo, a picture of me, lying in the circle of stones, eyes open, staring up at the sky. No one had taken it. The crows outside began to scream. The world hasn't felt the same since that night. At first it was little things. The tick of the clock stretching too long between beats. Shadows that didn't line up with the objects casting them. Then came the crows. They followed me everywhere. On streetlights, power lines, rooftops. Always one white among the black, always staring. I told myself it was coincidence. But sometimes I'd blink and the street around me would vanish, replaced by sky and wings. It didn't feel like dreaming. It felt like remembering. At work, I stopped climbing trees. The thought of leaving the ground made my stomach turn. Gary asked if I was all right, said I looked pale. I told him I'd just been sleeping badly. I didn't tell him that when I closed my eyes, I saw through someone else's. Through its. The first time it happened, I was brushing my teeth. My reflection blinked once, twice, and suddenly I was above the town, wind tearing through feathers that shouldn't have been mine. I saw the rooftops, the gray river. Beacon Point crouched at the edge of the forest like a wounded animal. Then I was back in the mirror, toothpaste dripping from my chin. Every time the visions came, I stayed longer. Every time I returned, a little less of me felt solid. Last night I found the feather again. Not on my pillow this time, but pressed between the pages of a notebook I'd never written in. Next to it, scrawled in handwriting that looked almost like mine, were 5 words. He still remembers the deal. I don't know who he is, my father, my brother, or something older wearing their faces, but I can feel them both when I close my eyes. One watching from the sky, one calling from the dark, and somewhere between them Morgan waits. I used to think I was hunting her. Now I'm not sure who's leading who. I couldn't take it anymore. The feathers in my pockets, the sky behind my eyelids, the voice that wasn't mine whispering at the edges of my thoughts. There was only one place left to go. Back to Beacon Point. The sanatorium rose out of the mist like a shipwreck, its chimneys leaning against the clouds. This time I didn't sign the visitor book. I just walked straight in. People moved out of my way without looking at me, as if they couldn't quite see me but felt something passing. The corridors were colder than before. The yellow line on the floor was faded, almost gone. The black one, the one the receptionist told me not to step on, was brighter, glistening like fresh tar. I kept my eyes on it and my hands tight at my sides. Shannon was waiting at the table by the window. She always was, but when she lifted her head this time, she gasped like she'd seen a ghost. "Alex," she whispered. "What have you done?" "I opened the book," I said. My voice didn't sound like mine anymore. "You told me to find her." She shook her head violently. "I told you to find her when you were ready, not to call her." "She has my brother," I said. She said the circle demanded one of us. "He stayed." Shannon reached for my hands but stopped halfway, her eyes fixed on my wrists. "Feathers," she murmured. "Oh God, she's already marked you." I pulled back. "Then tell me how to stop it." She closed her eyes. "You can't stop it. You can only finish it." "What does that mean?" Her voice cracked. "She wants a hunter. She always wants a hunter. One of our blood bound to her to walk between the worlds. Your father gave himself so you could live. Your brother gave himself so you could choose. And now it's your turn." The room tilted. "No," I whispered. "I'm not hers." Shannon opened her eyes. They were wet, but her gaze was steady. "Look at me, Alex. You're already seeing through her wings, aren't you? Feeling the air? Hearing the voices?" I couldn't answer. "She isn't taking you," Shannon said softly. "She's making you. You're becoming the thing she sent to hunt her debts." The words hit me like ice water. Morgan didn't just want my father or my brother. She wanted a replacement, a servant, a hunter. Me. Somewhere in the hallway a crow called, low and hollow, echoing off the walls. The window behind my mother went dark as wings blocked out the sky. Shannon squeezed her eyes shut. "It's too late," she said. "She's here." The lights went out first. Every bulb in the corridor popped with a soft sigh, leaving only the silver wash of moonlight through the barred windows. Somewhere far down the hall a door slammed, then another, like the building was closing its own fists. The air thickened. The smell of feathers and cold rain filled my lungs. Mum, Shannon, gripped the edge of the table so hard her knuckles went white. "Don't answer her," she whispered. "No matter what voice she uses." Then came the whisper curling through the dark. "Alex." I turned before I could stop myself. She was there, standing in the doorway, framed in the flicker of the emergency lights. Morrigan, no longer half shadow, half dream, flesh and feather and something older than both. Her eyes reflected everything, the walls, the window, my mother and me, like 1,000 crows folded into one. "You called, little hunter," she said. "Now you must listen." I took a step back. "You said the circle was balanced." "It is." Her smile was small, patient, but balance must be kept. Behind me, Shannon whispered a prayer that broke into sobs. Morgan's wings unfolded, brushing the ceiling, shedding white feathers that hissed when they hit the floor. Each one left a tiny scorch mark on the tile. "You have his sight," she said. "His will. The world between worlds is opening and I need eyes there, yours. I'm not your servant." "No," she said, stepping closer. "You're my bloodline's promise." Something inside my chest twisted. I could feel the beat of wings beneath my ribs answering hers. My breath came out in shivers. Shannon cried out, "Fight her, Alex. She can't take what you don't give." Morgan looked at her with something like pity. He already gave it the moment he believed. Her hand touched my face, cold, soft, endless. For a heartbeat, I saw everything through her eyes. The sanatorium walls dissolving into a vast black sky, crows wheeling above endless forests, souls drifting like sparks. It was beautiful. Terrible. Then her voice slid back into my ear. One more step and you'll never be hunted again. You'll hunt for me. I wanted to scream, to move, but my body didn't listen. Then Mum shouted my name, a sound full of every ounce of life she had left. She grabbed the crucifix that hung around her neck and threw it. It struck the floor between us and burst into light so bright it cut the air like fire. The world snapped. Morrigan's form scattered into a storm of feathers, spinning, shrieking, vanishing into the ceiling vents. I dropped to my knees. The floor was covered in ash. My mother collapsed across the table, breathing shallowly. "Alex," she whispered, "you broke the circle for now. But she'll come again. When she does, you'll have to choose." I took her hand. It was still cold. "Choose what?" Her eyes fluttered open. "Whether you're the hunter or the prey." Outside, the crows started screaming again. I drove until the road ran out. Didn't know where I was going, just needed distance, one from Beacon Point, from her, from the sound of wings that still echoed inside my skull. The forest swallowed the road. Branches hung low like fingers, brushing the roof of the truck. Every few seconds, something moved just beyond the headlights. Too fast to see, too close to ignore. When I finally stopped, the engine clicked in the cold. I stepped out into the dark. Hollowthorn Forest, the place it all started. The wind hissed through the trees, carrying 1,000 tiny voices. Whispers. My name. Alex. I spun around, but there was no one. Just the crows. Hundreds of them, sitting on the branches like ornaments, all white as bone, the same color as the feathers I'd been finding in my pockets. I lifted one of them now, smooth, perfect, glowing faintly in the dark. When I held it up, the trees bent away from it, like even they didn't want to touch what I was holding. Then the whisper came again, but this time it was inside my head. "You saw through my eyes," Morrigan said. "Now I'll see through yours." My breath froze. "Get out of my head. You invited me in, little hunter. You opened the book. You called my name." I stumbled back, clutching my temples. "You said I could choose." "You can," she purred. "But every choice has a price." The forest blurred. My vision flickered between two worlds, the one I knew and another one, deeper, older. I saw the sanatorium as ruins, the town of Corvus Vale as a shadow of itself, and above it all, a vast shape made of wings and smoke, watching me from somewhere beyond the clouds. I heard my mother's voice, faint, almost lost in the static. "Fight her, Alex." But I couldn't tell which part of me was listening anymore. When I looked down, my hands weren't hands. Black feathers shimmered where skin should be. My reflection in the truck window wasn't mine. It was the white crow staring back. Then Morrigan's voice again, soft, inevitable. "The hunt begins." The forest exploded into flight, a storm of crows lifting into the night, and I was among them. Not running anymore. Not searching, hunting. It's been 3 days since Beacon Point, at least I think it has. Time doesn't move right anymore. It stretches, bends, folds in on itself like wings closing. I've been hiding in an abandoned ranger cabin out by the edge of Hollowthorn Forest. The walls are lined with maps, old hunting trophies, a single oil lamp that keeps burning even when I forget to light it. Every night, I hear the crows outside. Hundreds of them, thousands maybe. They don't sleep. They just wait. When I close my eyes, I see through them. I see the rooftops of Corvus Vale, the glowing windows, the faces of people who will never know what lives above them. And sometimes when I look too long, I see her. Morrigan. Not as a monster now, but as a reflection. My reflection, she speaks in my voice. moves in my body, breathes through my lungs. I thought the feathers were the curse, but they're not. They're the evidence, proof that something ancient has remembered my name. I keep thinking about what Shannon said. You'll have to choose whether you're the hunter or the prey. But the truth is, there isn't a choice anymore, because the hunter and the prey are the same thing. One feeds the other. Tonight I tried to sleep. I dreamt of my brother, the one she took first. He was standing in a field of white birds staring at me with hollow eyes. He said, "You came too late, Alex, but she still needs you." When I woke up, the floor of the cabin was covered in feathers. Mine. I don't know how much longer I can fight her. Every time I blink, I lose another piece of myself. Every time I breathe, the air feels thinner, like I'm standing between worlds. There's a mirror nailed to the wall. I avoid it during the day, but tonight I looked. My eyes, they're black now. Not the color, the depth. Like staring into a tunnel that never ends. And from the reflection behind me, her voice. Soon we'll be one. The last Hammond. The first of the new hunters. My hand reached out on its own. The mirror rippled like water, and for a second I saw her face overlap mine. Then she whispered, "All you have to do is stop running." And I think I did, because when I stepped back from the mirror, it stepped with me. I don't remember falling asleep. I only remember waking up somewhere else, no cabin, no forest. Just a sky so black it swallowed its own stars. The ground beneath me wasn't earth anymore, it was feathers, endless, breathing, alive. Somewhere in the dark, wings opened, huge, patient, ancient. "You see now," Morgan whispered, "there was never a curse, only a calling." I tried to speak, but the sound that came out wasn't human. It was the low, broken cry of a crow learning its first breath. "Your father resisted," she said. "Your mother hid. Your brother obeyed. But you—" Her voice cracked the world open. "You believed." The black sky split like glass. Light spilled through, white and violent, cutting through the feathers beneath me. And in that light I saw everything, every soul she'd taken, every bargain ever made. I saw myself at all the crossroads of my life, always walking toward this. Morgan stepped close, her wings folding around me. They were cold, and yet they felt like home. "Do you understand what you are?" I nodded. Not her prey. No. Not her servant. No. I looked down at my hands. They were claws now, sleek, black, glistening. Then what? Her smile was the only light left in the world. Her echo. And with that word, everything changed. The feathers around us rose like a storm. My skin peeled away into ash and wind. The sound of 1,000 wings filled the air. When it cleared, there was no man left standing in the field. Only a single white crow circling the night, carrying the memory of someone who used to be named Alex Hammond. I don't hunt demons anymore. I hunt what they leave behind, and when you hear wings outside your window, don't look, because it might not be the crow watching you. It might be me.